Hello, in this video I'd like to explain our first assignment from Web and Mobile 2 course. So in this assignment we had to create CRUD application between two entities, and we had to make sure that there is either one-to-many or man-to-man relationship between those entities. And we had to use H2 database, and additionally we had to write queries for different functionalities like filtering, searching, etc. So I'd like to start with showing you my database. So the password is root. You can also find it in application properties. And also you have to make sure that this data source URL is as in this file, because sometimes if you open it, it may be different than different by default. So I connect to database. So I made the entities, authors and books. I had man-to-man relationship between those entities, like one author can have multiple books in the system, and one book can be written by multiple authors as well. So for the authors, we have author ID, uniquely specifying it among other authors. We have birth year, full name and nationality. While for the books, we also have ID, publication year, genre and title. And in the intersection entity, I have author ID and book ID to make sure which author wrote which book. So it's like to maintaining the relationship between those entities. So let me show you my model, entity classes. So this is for the author. I used Lombok to avoid redundancy, writing setters, getters, etc. And these are the fields I explained earlier, and this is the constructor. So to make sure that I don't write ID each time it gets increased by automatically with this generation type identity, I wrote that constructor. And I also have relationship here, many to many, mapped by authors. So this means that the one owning the relationship is actually book. So here in this part you can see the name of the intersection table, book authors. I have book ID and author ID as attributes in that table. So yeah, this is the one owning the relationship. And here similarly I used constructor with no ID. And I also if you observed, I used not blank, not null, which I'll also commit to later, to make sure that there's no problem regarding the validity. So let's start with CRUD. So as you know, for simple CRUD we need controller, repository and service. So let's start with book, I think, yeah. Book controller, book repository and book service. And book service implementation, I tried to make them separate to for the sake of clean code. Yeah, for book controller, as you see, I have to create a book service and author service for knowing which method I should call for different URL requests. So I specified requests here. The first one is for listing books. So for listing books, you don't need to write anything to the URL part after writing authors, like this, books, or maybe in books cases books, or it can be like this. Sorry, yeah, like this works, both of them. So in book service, this means I have get all books, but before that, since this is JPA application, I have book repository that extends JPA repository. And here I used advanced SQL I wrote one query for all of them, kinda, for searching based on title, author name, publication, and genre. So it combines all of them. Doesn't matter if the user keeps one of them blank or multiple of them, so it will work. So actually we don't need it for listing purposes. So for listing I just go to book service. I have here in the interface abstract method of get all books. Yeah, here it retrieves all books from the database, and here it's implemented just simply book repository find all. And as you see, this is the listing that we see on the screen in a user-friendly way. So I made bootstrap here in list authors. So I populated the data here. Actually, list books. Yeah, sorry, list books. I populated data here, book ID and book authors, different parameters, different properties actually of the book. So the second one is adding new book. Let me show you how it works before showing the code. So I add this book. I click add button. I see this page. I have title, publication year, genre, and authors that I should add. So let's say just write title, book title, publication year, let's say 2024, genre, let's say classic, and authors, let's choose Sabahattin Ali. So in case this is a new book whose author is not registered in the system, this page suggests that we click here to add a new author, which directs us here, and then we can refresh the page. We'll see that author here as well. So I add the book and it's here. So for this, when I click this one for showing this page, in the controller I have show add book form. So it I use model to pass a book to add book.html file. Yes, here. And as you see, I use new book, which means that the fields are blank by default. And you may wonder why I use author service in book. So if you noticed, when I see authors, I have a list of authors. So to get this list, I have to call authors service.get all authors. So I just render the view, and that's it. And also let me show you the repository, not actually book service. Yeah, so in the book service it's add book, and in the book service implementation, yeah, it's just save book. I override that method. And this was actually for in the controller I have two methods. This was for get mapping, and when I click the button, the process happening after clicking that button add is about this one, adding book post mapping. So for making sure the user did not try to submit the form with empty values or empty spaces, let's say, I used valid annotation. So in case I have binding result as a parameter to detect errors in case it has, so the form will stuck. For instance, let's say publication year, I have title, but genre I choose just spaces, and I try to add book. You see that nothing happens. So unless I write something here, and also choose one author, it will not submit, but in this case it will submit because all fields are correct. Yeah. Yeah, so it has errors, it just persists. There is the form is there, you have to correct the field, otherwise it will redirect to the list of books as we added it here. So the second one is updating the book. So for updating book as add, I have get mapping and post mapping. So for get mapping is for showing the update form, while update book post mapping is for making sure that the book that we updated is reflected in the, let's say, database in the main list. So for update form, I just get the book by ID. Let me show you here. So I click update and I see title, so this is the ID. Let's say title book, publication year 2020, genre, let's say romance, and let's add one more author. Let's choose the second one and update book. As you can see, it's updated successfully. Yeah, for get mapping, again I feel, I mean, if you notice, when I try to click update, I see the data of the book that I updated, so it happens here. And the all authors, as I mentioned earlier in adding new book, it's from author service that's listed here. And I again return the view update book, it's here. So I use timelive and populate the data. For populating the data I use $, etc. So this is for the post mapping. So book service dot update book I have, so it's void update book in the interface, and in the class implementation it is just I set ID and I have save method of book repository, and it updates successfully. So we explained the listing, updating, adding. So what we have left is, let me show you, it's deleting. Yeah, deleting a book. So again, similarly, I have a book service, the delete method here. So it deletes the book from the database, and it's implemented here. It's simple delete by ID method from the book repository, and after deleting it returns to listing page, the books, I mean. So let's come back to books and try to delete the new book that we added, and it asks whether we are sure or not. I try to handle it in the with JavaScript here in this part. So actually it's, yeah, it's on click return confirm, so we confirm and it deletes successfully. Yeah. And last but not least, we have search books. In other words, I like to call it filtration. So let's write EAT, and you see EAT is contained here. It returns the book titled The Great Gatsby. We can also write, let's say, E, which author has E in its name. So it seems all of the authors. Let's say AT, you see, the Sabahattin Ali, since here is 80, it returns the related books. I can search based on publication year, let's say 1998. So it brings this one. I can also write fiction. Yeah, we have historical fiction and classic fiction, and this works also when we have multiple fields entered by the user. For instance, I can specify title and author. I may leave this blank, it will still work, or I can specify author and publication year, leave this one blank. In either combination it will work. Let me show you. Let's say title should contain S and this one should contain O. We have only 3 books that whose title contains S and whose author contains O. And in case we have no result, it just says no books found. So this is the part that book repository played a great role. So here I used SQL. I mean, this is advanced SQL, and I used native query, so I made sure that it's true. So it's the method I called find books by join result, and I have param annotation to make sure that these are the ones that that are searched based on the data entered by the user. And in the book service, I just mentioned the name of that method called from book repository, and GPA handles it itself. So it was about our books. I showed you adding, updating, deleting, and searching based on different combinations. And now it's time to move to author entity. Actually, most of them are similar to what it is done in the book. However, so to not lose very much time, I will not deep dive into the details of authors, but rather let me show you it here. I have again the similar listing. I have select box here to choose the authors based on their nationality, and when I click select, I see, let's say, American author, since I choose American, or Turkish in this case. So one time search and it lists all the fields. And for the author, let me show you the controller again for listing authors. This one lists authors. I call get all authors from author service. I populate the model with these attributes in the time live, and I have again adding part for get mapping, post mapping, and for similarly updating get mapping, post mapping. And here I used optional to make sure that we don't have any problems with validity. I tried to use different techniques, therefore I used optional here, not in the other one. In case we have problems, it will redirect us to error page. Yeah, and this is post mapping. We call update author from author service. So these are the similar that I explained it in book, so I don't want to lose time by going to service and service implementation to show them. And here is the interesting part, delete author. So there is some relationship between authors and books. It's also that we have to consider when we try to delete author. For instance, when I try to implement the logic in a way that when I remove the authors, the books that are solely written by that author should be deleted, or if that author is the co-author of another book. The book, in case I delete the author, the book remains in the system, but from the authors list its name gets deleted. So it's my logic for this part of the assignment, for the cross relationship. And let me show you how it works. So this is a list of authors. Let's say I delete Orhan Pamuk, and let's see the list of books. You see there's no Orhan Pamuk. Or let's create a book with two authors. New book 2000, genre, let's say detective, and authors, let's choose Lee, Rowling, and Ali. Let's choose three of them. Yeah, we have three authors. So if I try to delete Harper Lee here, this should delete this one, since this is the book that's solely written by author Harper Lee, and it should also delete the name of the Harper Lee, the name here in this part, but not the book itself, because there are other authors who are right now on the system. So when I update the page, as you can see, it delete Harper Lee, Lee's only book, and delete the name of his name from this new book. So let's have a look at the logic for that case. So in author controller, yeah, this is this just shows pass variable ID in the URL, and we go to author service implementation, and sorry, I'm in the controller, yeah, and here is delete author. So I find the author that I want to delete. Again, I use optional for making sure that it returns a non value. So if it's present, I get that author, and I have an iterator that I iterate through the books of that author, and the logic that I mentioned, in case the it's like the book is written only by that author, the list of the authors of the book, I mean the size is 1, so it deletes that book entirely. Otherwise it just deletes the name of the author in that book object. And in case we have some problems with ID, deleting ID, it says author with ID not found, and that's it. Yeah, this is for delete author. There was an interesting logic that I had to implement, and here, as in the books, I have filtration by name, I have by birth name, and by nationality. To make it a bit different and interesting, I tried to make it select box for this case. And for that one, as you see in author repository, actually you may ask that this is a lot of work. I could have written it with simply as writing advanced SQL. With just one query I could have done the work. However, according to the instructions of the assignment, I had to try different methods of query, or I should also use non-native queries. I should use the methods that are, let's say, implemented by ORM. I mean the ORM technique that are done by JP automatically. So therefore I use different combinations. So the first one, search based on name, birth year, nationality. The second one, name and birth year. The third one, birth year and nationality. This one actually this one, full name, birth year, nationality. You say I have all different combinations, and I used non-native query method here. It's simple query. It finds the authors in case only birth year is entered, and here it finds authors by their nationality, and this is native query as it's shown here. So in author service implementation, so I have search authors method. I have is null or blank. This is a custom method that I created to make sure that string is not null. I mean, for checking if it's null, or if the user entered only white spaces into the search box, into this field like this. So to not have any problems with that, I write in that way. Let me show you here as well. Let's write empty spaces and submit the form. You see, nothing happens, no error, to make it, I mean, accessible for the user. Let's write Ali. You see, it contains Ali, it ignores the case and gets the results. And let's say contains letter E and the birth year is 1896, this one, and E 1896, and the nationality, let's say, is Turkish. You see, there is no author found. So let's go back. Yeah. So is null or blank is helpful for checking different combinations here. So I check what user entered, and based on that I call the respective method from author repository, and otherwise if none of them are satisfied I just return the empty list from the collections. Yeah, that's it from the author side. We discussed adding author, editing author, deleting author, and also filtration. So let's see what we have more. Yeah, actually we discussed almost all the parts. We discussed the CRUD for each of them separately. We discussed how I handled the cross relationship problem. We discussed writing different types of query methods or additional JPA non-native queries or native queries. I used all of them in the project. However, as I mentioned, this may seem a bunch of work. I did it only because to know how other ways work. Otherwise, simple, I could have written like in book repository only one complex query and it will handle everything. And filtration, actually I did filtration. I mean, I have filtration based on every field: name, birth year, nationality, and here author, publication year, genre, and title. And I connected it with those queries so that user, instead of checking it, writing, let's say, search, etc. Let's write something here, D. So writing like this by manual, I did filtration on the user interface for making sure that it's comfortable. And these are the templates. Actually, I didn't go through them that much, so I used them for the view of the model. I have list authors, list books, update author, I update book, and in all of them I used Bootstrap for making the design user friendly. And I mentioned one point that yeah, I used a valid annotation, so it's from local validator factory bin to make sure that in case user tries to to submit something null or empty. This comes to help avoiding the errors. And this file MVC config, web MVC config, here in this method, as you can see, when I enter the localhost and I don't mention anything, it's just mapped by this one, and I set the view to index, that I have two different pages. And yeah, this is the initial data loader, the one that when we run the application for the first time, that we see comes actually from this part. Actually, yeah, I did it with first in SQL file, but since it would not be compatible with other database whose syntax are not the same, it will be difficult. So that's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you enjoy the explanation I provided for the assignment. Have a nice day.